What are we good for as an institution? According to Brink, universities should not only ask what they are good at, but also what they are good for. While excellence in teaching and research rightly remains a central focus, which reflects what they are good at, universities must, with equal vigor, conviction, and commitment, engage with the question of what they are good for, particularly in relation to addressing the pressing challenges faced by society. The question of the social purpose of a university has been a recurring and vital theme for decades. It is a question that should remain central to all aspects of institutional life and in the decision-making of all those who have that responsibility. One may ask why. Firstly, universities do not exist in a vacuum. They are situated within specific social, economic, cultural, political, and historical contexts, and are intrinsically linked to the communities in which they are located. They both shape and are shaped by the milieu that surrounds them, highlighting the dynamic and reciprocal relationship between the institution and its broader environment. Universities, as we know, are social institutions that exist to serve the public good. So they cannot afford to function as ivory towers, aloof, isolated, or unconcerned with the societal context in which they operate. Rather, they must be firmly embedded in and deeply engaged with the immediate local communities. This engagement should take the form of mutually beneficial, reciprocal, respectful, and impactful partnerships. Partnerships that are thoughtful, equitable, democratic, sustainable, and grounded in knowledge. These collaborations should aim to address the social, economic, environmental, cultural, and other challenges that affect the quality of life in the community. Ultimately, universities and communities must work together to co-create solutions that are responsive to the needs and aspirations of the community and society in general. So I wish to underscore the importance of the knowledge-driven nature of these partnerships. Universities are not charitable organizations. They are fundamentally institutions of knowledge. So their most valuable contribution to any partnership with surrounding communities lies in their capacity to generate, apply, and share knowledge in ways that are meaningful and transformative. As universities, we must remain committed to producing and disseminating knowledge that drives positive change in people's lives, knowledge that has the power to transform our societies and the world for the better. And so through research, universities should strive to collaborate with communities to find solutions to the challenges they face. To achieve this, university academics and researchers must engage in research with the community rather than in or on the community in order to foster mutually beneficial outcomes. This approach involves a process of sharing ideas, knowledge, and expertise. While academics and researchers contribute their knowledge, they must also learn from the communities they engage with, tapping into the vast knowledge and wisdom that reside within these communities. Now, this requires researchers and academics to approach their work with humility, recognizing that they do not have answers to all the challenges faced by communities. So it is through the collaborative sharing of knowledge that effective, sustainable solutions can be co-created. Another very important thing is that communities are not without agency. they have much to contribute. So in the context of university-community interactions, communities should not view themselves as passive recipients of goods and services from a benevolent institution. Rather, they must be engaged as active agents of their own emancipation, taking a leading role in shaping the solutions and outcomes that directly affect their lives. So through this form of community engagement, university staff and students are afforded the opportunity to look beyond academic boundaries, to value diverse perspectives, and to appreciate the richness and complexity of the human experience. In turn, the surrounding community gains deeper appreciation for the university's vital role and is more likely to view it as a trusted partner in advancing the common good. Let me touch on the formation of young people. Universities play a critical role in the formation of young people. By formation, I mean the process of guiding and supporting young people in their holistic development and growth, be it intellectually, ethically, emotionally, socially, or culturally. We have a responsibility to cultivate humanity, compassion, and civil responsibility in our students. We have a responsibility to awaken and nurture empathy, social consciousness, and a sense of human solidarity in them as we prepare them to navigate life as thoughtful, ethical, and actively engaged citizens. And through community engagement, we must strive to cultivate graduates who are not only highly knowledgeable and technically competent, but as I've indicated, are also active, critical, and democratic global citizens. Initiatives such as service learning and engaged citizenship or volunteerism offer students valuable opportunities for personal growth, fostering deeper self-awareness and a more profound understanding of the social realities that shape our society. In this way, students are equipped to become agents of societal change and contributors to meaningful social transformation. And such students are able to strengthen and deepen the democratic values and advance social justice and human solidarity in our society. It is our responsibility to educate them for a life of meaning, a life of purpose, and we must educate and prepare them for a life of consequence. And we do indeed need to educate and prepare them for a life of service. We do aspire for these young people to serve our society and humanity, not as an act of charity, but as a recognition of our shared humanity and collective destiny. For it is through acknowledging, defending, and advancing the humanity of others that our own humanity can reach its fullness. So if we remain true and faithful to our purpose and mission, as we must, we will be able to advance the higher purpose of higher education. That is to transform individual lives for the better, to create just, inclusive, and sustainable society, and to create a more just, more humane, a more equitable, a fairer, a more compassionate and inclusive future for our community and all of humanity. Let me just conclude by quoting a part of a paper by Richard Killen, because the sentiment expressed in that paper resonates with my own view. This, of course, is in the context of the USA, but does apply more generally. I quote, offering students a deeper understanding of what it means to be human, and thereby working to cultivate humanity among them, is more substantively and painfully challenged by forces that have weakened true higher education learning in higher education. The neoliberal assumption that higher education is and should be a private advantage and not a public good has fueled regressive declines in state funding of public colleges and universities and supported the imposition of funding models that privilege deceptively simple measurements that can only be assembled onto dashboards and depend upon those metrics to determine funding levels. The business model of private liberal arts colleges, whether or not they are elite, increasingly depends on their enrolling and retaining larger proportions of students from well-to-do families who do not require financial aid, despite increasing competition for those students and the critical need to strengthen educational vitality through diversity across the full spectrum of America's demographic and socioeconomic differences. He continues, fiscal and competitive pressures, notably the pervasive, unproductive, and anti-intellectual priority given to comparative rankings, have driven colleges and universities to adopt cost-cutting or resource-conserving measures that take little account of what students need to learn about being human or the ways in which that learning might happen. I'm afraid this is what we are witnessing across the globe. Thank you very much, Program Coordinator. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Mabizela, for those opening remarks. And I think they really play a powerful role in situating us for the rest of the discussions we might have over the next 2 days. I'm going to open it up and invite some commentary, some questions directed at the professor. I'll invite colleagues to use the hand-raising function. If you do struggle to find it on your PC, no worries at all. Feel free to just unmute and say you have a question, and or sort of put your question in the chat. We'll give it a minute or two to see if there are any inputs that anyone would like to make. Participants. While we do so, I do want to just remark, Prof. Mabizela, one of the remarks that you made that really struck out to me was the necessity of higher education institutions to look beyond academic boundaries to appreciate the richness and complexities of the human condition.
Yeah.
Framing of that sentiment really powerful in positioning us.
Yeah.
Colleagues, I'll do another check. Anyone with any inputs, comments, thoughts, perspective? I see one from a George Lada. George?
Thank you very much, Chair, or moderator of this session. I would like to start by thanking my colleague, Professor Mabizela. Is one of a rare kind. In universities, elite universities, that pursue community university engagement and with a VC that is very passionate about university community engagement. I appreciate very much your view on the fact that universities and communities must coexist. And I like the bit that universities must not only know what they're good for, what they're good in, but what they're good for. And I think I would like to appreciate that bit and emphasize that the being good for is more important than being good in. And the reason is that if you want to achieve, to cultivate humanities, then you must exist for. And I believe in your leadership of Rhodes, you are doing that, plus your team of those from the Department of Community University Engagement. At Good University, we are trying to do the same. And we like creating this synergy. That is why I couldn't miss this session, especially presented by the Vice Chancellor himself. And I would like to request him to really engage or reach out to some universities like Cape Town, who may think hanging in the world stage, competition for the world stage and not for Africa is more important. So how are we going to do that, to ensure that we reach out to other universities to prioritize humanity than rankings? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your very kind and generous comments, my colleague. That is extremely important. Perhaps I should indicate that Rhodes University is the only university in this country that has publicly declared that it will never waste its time and resources chasing global rankings. And that for us is important. And if you look at all these global rankings, they will never have any metric that will endeavor to understand the contribution of a university to community engagement, to the cultivation of humanity. There are no metrics that are used by these ranking agencies to assess how much the university is contributing to the upliftment of their surrounding communities and the kinds of students that the university is dealing with. And that is quite important. And in fact, if you read that book by Professor Brink, it touches on rankings. And I just wish all universities in South Africa would avoid spending their inordinate resources chasing these elusive global rankings, because the diversion of much needed resources into something that is completely anti-intellectual, something that is totally unscientific, there is just no way in which you can rank the universities. So this is just a marketing gimmick. And as Rhodes University, we have refused to take part in those because we believe in contributing to the betterment of our community, of our society, focusing on that which really matters. Of course, different universities have their own strategic plans and so on, but I can very happily and unequivocally reflect to all of you that Rhodes University cares very deeply about its surrounding community, the Eastern Cape, the continent, more than it cares about the global rankings.
Thank you very much, Professor Mabizela, and thank you, Professor Openjuru, for that important question that you asked. We've still got some time. If there are any other comments or inputs, I know there's some reflections in the chat. But if there are any other for Professor Mabizela, once, we'll go twice. Professor Mabizela, always a pleasure to hear from you, sir. Never will I get tired of your sentiments and perspectives, and I hope that people on the call get to see you dance one day. It is a treat.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you.